Dr. Whitaker last night.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be clear, this is it. We won't do another one. All we will do next is read.
The one-page reflection.
And that's it. We won't do Zooms or anything. So I just want to make sure that I talked to her and make sure I was clear about that, because that could be a done deal.
So do you have to, did she mention whether or not there was a requirement for us to upload a Zoom?
She didn't say it, but I'm going to send it to her.
Okay.
I'm going to.
All right. So how do we want to do this? Like everybody just share?
Yeah.
What they.
I put in a couple of things on slide 2, 3, and I think 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Angela, that's your screen, right?
Right.
Will you put it in, can you put it in presentation mode just because I can't see it?
Yeah, I can't see.
Poor thing.
If you drag the bar between our video and the presentation over, it really helps a lot.
All right.
I've got it as big as I can read now, but once you get to the text, I won't be able to see anything.
Let's do it like this, right?
Yeah. But if we do in presentation mode, we can't edit it.
We just had to exit out of it, and
I don't need to edit any of mine. I kind of went through and did some editing as I was adding mine. So
Okay.
I mean, I guess if we need to, we can do that.
I like it like this. Isn't that a commercial? I like it like this. Okay. Sound like a commercial. This sounds good to me. All right, so we're talking about the principal as an instructional leader, which is our case study 1. And the first question, how could Frank handle the low reading scores that came about because of the large number of students entering into the school with low reading scores? Well, we deal with this anyway every year. That's what we have, that math and reading gap, because we deal with that every year. All of our students, pretty much, I'll say 85% of our students are low readers. So the first bullet, one way Frank could approach this issue: look at the students who are coming in, look at their historical data, their EVOS, the EOGs, the benchmarks, to identify which student needs the most help. After identifying the students based on the scores, reading interventions could be designed to address the needs of each student according to the levels of comprehension. Another approach could be to implement class pre-assessments to identify if there has been a change based on that past data, because you can look at that data, but the child over the summer, who knows, mom may have got them and dad may have got them tutorials. I don't know. They might have a smart something. I don't know. So I think that even though there are EVOS scores and things like that may say one thing, still pre-assessments are necessary to find out if they went even lower or did they rise up any. Because our EVOS scores were saying that some of our students were going to fail. You had students on the bubble that were going to fail, and students that EVOS said that predicted they was going to pass. The students that they said that would fail actually aced the EOC, aced. So I think sometimes, well, all the time, you need to do a pre-assessment, because we can't really go by that like absolutely.
I guess I can go next. I said that Frank could utilize data based upon the needs assessment for the school renewal plan to allocate money for professional learning that is research-based. And I did not hear Frank mention any instructional coaches, but it would be beneficial to include them on the team as well. And another thing that I noted with my reading was they didn't talk about the diversity of the students that were entering the school, but another approach would be to look at, are they coming from non-dominant cultures? Because if they are, that may be why there is a gap in making the teachers more culturally aware of the diversity that's in the school now.
Yep, that definitely could be.
All right, so I had the last bullet up there. Another approach is for Frank to kind of what you guys said, to use the data gathered to identify the need, and then use the analysis of the findings to develop an action plan, which of course we've been working on, to address the low scores. And then the action plan will of course include specific activities. One of the things that, I don't know if I missed this, but do we know what grade level these students are on?
Nope.
So it didn't say whether it was elementary, middle, or high school.
No, didn't say what type of school it was.
One of my thoughts was, you know, depending on the findings, they could pair the students if it was, you know, depending on the grade level, like with older students that were on maybe a higher level that could assist, you know, maybe just sit and read with them, but we don't have that information. So
I think when I was reading it, there was some indication. That's why I put EOG, because I was going to put EOC, but I think it was some indication that it may have been a lower level of academics. So I can't remember, but that is definitely something you want to look at, because it's a lower grade level. Yeah, come in, read with them, things like that. High school definitely going to do something a lot different from that. All right, what are some measures he could have taken to avoid major discipline problems in the school? So what, and I'll just, you know, I'm not gonna go word for word for word, but one of the things that, I mean, because he actually talking about my school. I mean, my principal's name, not Frank, is actually John, but he's talking about my school. Because when you have students, low performing students coming in, I know people can say whatever they want to say, we have a lot of disciplinary problems, because being that there is an academic gap and they don't really understand, you know, what's going on in the classroom, they find other things to do. And most of the time it causes problems, causes fights and things of that nature. So I definitely would say, if you're gonna, something that he could have done for that is implement the MTSS, and MTSS and PBIS are like married to each other, and use some kind of program like that so you can address the whole child. Make sure you're looking at the IEPs, the 504s, making sure that if there are any accommodations, there is any special needs. He wants to look at all of that. My thing is, which is hard for most people, is you might want to do a home visit. You might want to, especially these new students, it ain't like 1,000 coming in at one time. So you might have about 15, 20 maybe students coming in that you've checked their EBOS, you've checked their information, and you know that they are low performing students. How about I do a home visit? That's like 15 people. I can split that up with what, 5 teachers, and they can go to 3 home visits. 15 teachers and go to 1 home visit. And just kind of check out and document what kind of living environment that they are exposed to. And that can kind of help us identify what might be some of the problems. So you need to get to know your students, and I think that can avoid a lot of disciplinary problems. You got to know why they have the disciplinary, situation going on.
Yeah, I got a short story for that. So it may not be short, may be long, so sit back. We have a student who's been nothing but trouble, always in and out of ISS, out of school suspension, whatnot. My first interaction with the kid was I took his phone in the hallway, following the rules, and I took his phone in the hallway. From that point forward, every time I'd see him, like, hey, Matthew, how you doing? He's like, don't talk to me. I don't like you. Don't talk to me. He's mad because I followed the rules. And I said, is that right? I followed the rules and you're mad at me for that? This went on for, I don't know, a couple months. I saw him in the office one time, and he looked like he had enough. He came out and he says, I don't even know why I come to school. It doesn't even matter. I mean, there's nothing I can do when I graduate. I said, what do you mean? He says, I'm not afraid to tell you, I'm an illegal immigrant. He goes, I'm here. He said, me and a bunch of other students that I'm with, we're in the same boat. We have nothing we can do once we can't get jobs.
Wow.
There's nothing we can do. So what the hell's the point of coming to school? And I said, well, I don't know. And my wife works with a lot of illegal immigrants in the education system. I said, let me find out what we can do for you. And that was over the Christmas break or spring break. Came back and I talked to him. I said, you have the opportunity to join the military. He said, I just found that out. I said, you can join the military and you can get your citizenship through the military. I said, I knew several people when I was in they were not legal. They came through and got their citizenship. And from that point forward, now he talks to me in the hallway. He'll stop and talk to me, just out of the blue. And his attitude changed, and I could tell in his demeanor, it has changed because he now has hope.
Yes.
And there's a lot of students like that. I'm living 3 miles south of Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a lot of illegal immigrants. So getting to know the student now, why did I give you that story? Going back a couple years, we had what was unofficially called the crack team. Every teacher was to pick a student on the list that was, in trouble of possible failing, and we were to, mentor that student. Even if it was once a week or once every 3 weeks, just check out them, stuff like that, get to know the student. Might be able to do something like that. Have a crack team. We laugh when we called it that, but they're students who are about to fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to get out into the community. A lot of parents, especially in the poor community or the illegal community, they don't want anything to do with the schools. You cannot get them in there. They're intimidated by schools. They don't want to be there. So if we can't get to them out there, let's get to them while they're in school with us, and have a teacher, quote, adopt a student. Get to know that student. Maybe you can help them all. Maybe you only help a couple of them, but it's a way to get to know your students and help them out.
You know, I think that when we do our presentation, that definitely you share that, because I think that when it comes to discipline people out, we don't have time for it, whatever, you know, y'all see bad kids. They not bad kids. Sometimes there's something behind the scene that causes them to act that way. So I think that would be something good to share during our presentation, definitely.
You want to type in crack team for bullet 5?
Hey, you can go for it. And talk about that young
Actually,
man.
I can do that. What am I doing?
Yeah,
I can do that here while we're talking.
yeah, I like
Which bullet was yours, Matt? Did you type a bullet there?
Not on slide 2.
Not on this slide? Okay, because I was just going to say you could type it next to it, but
I'm gonna type below it. We need to kind of clean these slides up here. They're pretty wordy.
Well, I can go ahead next. And I just talked about what Angela did as well. Parent involvement is essential. And if they're having this much new students come in, it's essential that they get to know the parents. And they talked about how they didn't have a policy for discipline and behavior. And the teachers wanted him to create one. But not only do the teachers need to know that, but the parents need to know that as well. So he needs to make that connection with home and all of the stakeholders. And I know we have a parent liaison in our school. So if they utilize that as well, that would be good with getting parents and community members in, so they can know the expectations.
oh, that's good.
so Faith, my thought was the same, get the parents involved, but I didn't type that in there because you had it. And I think was that your second bullet where you talked about PBIS?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So our school uses PBIS, and that was one of my thoughts too. But what I really mentioned was, I feel like Frank, as the principal, I know he got the committee of teachers and said, let's look at the most common infractions and then come up with whatever the consequences are. But I feel like he should be somewhat involved in that instead of just putting it off on the teachers. I feel like as principal, he needs to be involved. And then the other thing I said, whatever the discipline plan is, if it's going to be PBIS, they've got to present that to the students, because if the students are coming in and they don't know what the expectations are, you can't expect them to do something that they aren't aware of.
That's right. I totally agree with that. My son, he's moving on to 5th grade, and he goes to a charter school. So we had to meet with the principal, which I know the principal because my daughter, who's 29, she was the first one to go to that school when they initially started. So every year, people talk about this school. They don't like this school. They're taking our students and all this. But if you sit down and watch what they do, before they let those students leave 4th grade and come into 5th grade, they have to meet with the principal. They have to hear the rules. They have to sign a document saying that, yes, I will follow these rules. The parent has to sign, and then the principal has to sign. Principal said, I'm going to be real with you. You got a problem with me? Don't put it on Facebook. Come to me and talk to me. I mean, she is so, I've been knowing her for almost 20 years, but she is so down to earth about how she handled her students, how she handled her parents. Their big thing at the school is social injustice. They want to make sure that Black kids are being treated fairly and have the same opportunities as other students. And she says it out loud. So some parents come there, white parents come there and say, why do you have to teach this? I have to teach this. I have to teach equality. I have to teach equity. So she lets you know what you're getting into. And that's something I think Frank needs to do. You know, it's a case study, but he definitely needs to let the parents, as you said, and the students know before they walk in that door day one. These are my expectations. Sign this document. If you do not comply with this, you are going back out the door. And that's what they do at this charter school. You go back to the regular school system if you cannot abide by their rules. It is what it is. It's not throwing kids away either. It's like you gotta She was like, you have to live in the real world. So the same expectations you have on the job, she's trying to replicate that at the school. Be on time. Don't miss days. Do your work. And they give paychecks, you know, these little fake things called paychecks. And the more paychecks you get, the more trips and things you can go on. So paychecks is almost like get paid on a real job. So, you know, you gotta, and that's like PBIS. So I definitely agree. You have to have something in place to an incentive, and you also have to let them know there's consequences and you're responsible for that. In addition to strengthening the reading and discipline plan, what else could Frank do to maintain the school as an excellent place to attend? This sounds something like your school, Matt, but now it seems like some other folks coming in. What do you think?
Well, I'm trying to reach out what I put in there. Mine's not in there. Maybe it's on the last one.
You see it? Cougar Cash. See, there you go. That's one of the. That's the money. That's the money. In addition,
That's mine.
I like that. Cougar Cash. In addition to strength. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Were you about to go ahead and read, Angela?
So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna run through it. It said, in addition to strengthening the reading and discipline, he could implement the, like I said, multi-tier system of support to address academics and behavior. It improves. It provides intervention for the students at all levels, and it helps them to understand behavior and how that behavior affects academics and how academics can also affect behavior. So I think that definitely, if he wants to continue to have an excellent school, he's going to need a program, a behavioral program and an academic program. That PBIS is on, PBIS and MTSS, because I do both of them, is on point. It'll work if you do it with fidelity.
I have my third bullet there. It says reach out to parents via weekly newsletter. Our principal does that, and he expects all teachers to be able to reach out. It doesn't have to be a long letter, long note. You can use Remind 101, 140 characters, just to reach out to the parents every single week. You're building a culture. And before, when we first started a couple years, I'm like, oh, just one more thing on my plate. But now I understand the importance of this. Just stay in contact with the parents. Get parents involved. That's tough to do sometimes, but you got to find a way to get as many parents involved as you can. Invite them to the meetings, the school improvement meetings and whatnot.
Right.
Well, I had the second bullet, and I just kind of piggybacked off of what Angela was saying, but to continuously celebrate the success of the school, he needs to celebrate students' gains, even if they are not on grade level. And this will motivate them intrinsically. Also, like I talked about earlier, with the changing population, he needs to look at how diversified it is. And maybe a book study could help with helping his staff understand the diversity of the students at his school.
True.
Yeah.
So I went off of what Faith had. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to finish up the last thing that I had on my bullet point. And I've never seen this before. We have 2,200 students. My principal found the money to buy every single student a T-shirt. It's just a red shirt that says solid. And his directive was to the teachers, start finding students in your class and say, hey, you know, I appreciate you did this, or I appreciate you got your homework. It doesn't matter. Every single student does something worthwhile to feel connected.
That's
and
right.
by the end of a couple months, every student in that school had a solid shirt. So now, you know, when we have spirit weeks or whatever, we'll say, hey, everybody wear your solid shirt. You know, a school full of students wearing their solid shirt.
I like that.
Some people are like, that's BS. Others, they love it. They're like, oh, wow, I got recognized for something.
I like that. That's good.
So mine kind of goes along with all of the rewarding the students or recognizing their successes, but I just said like reward them, give them some kind of incentive. So for the struggling students and for the students who may have discipline issues, provide some type of incentive. And then you can see at the bottom where I mentioned Cougar Cash, and our school uses that. And each team at our school has a different color Cougar Cash. So we keep track of that as far as our discipline data so that we know, one, how many pieces of Cougar Cash each team is issuing, so that if it looks like a team is not giving out any, principal can go talk to them. But the things that these kids do for Cougar Cash, it's amazing. So I just think that would be something good that he could use to motivate the students.
I wish we did that years ago at the high school level, and stuff just seemed to kind of fall off. But I thought that was a great idea. I really did. And then in the middle school, when we did it we did Charger I think it was Charger Cash or something like that. And they had this big cart. They were filled with everything, just candy and toys and whatever. And they would walk past the doors of the classroom, and you get the students get to come with their cash and buy something off of the big cart. But see, if you don't have but $1, you probably can't afford anything. And
So see,
then
that's how it is at our school. Each of our teachers or the teams have a class store, and
right,
you can do whatever you want with that store, pencils, candy, chips, or whatever. And so we always make sure we have things that you can purchase with one piece of Cougar Cash, because you're right, there are probably going to be tons of students who only have one piece.
right.
I did that when I taught third grade. I had a bunch of stuff that I had purchased, and it was called Law Mart, Law Mart.
I
And the
like
kids
that.
just loved it. They loved the Law Mart, because I would reward them for many things. And then at the end of every 2 weeks or so, we would go shopping at Law Mart. And
See?
they had the things they had their eyes on. They wanted to be good. They wanted to turn their homework assignment in or something like that. So I like your idea, Samanja.
That's wonderful. And I think at the high school level, we need to start back doing that, because as adults, we like rewards. If we still like rewards, come on. I mean, high school kids, even a pencil, you like, oh my God, you did such a good job. I'm gonna give you a pencil. Some of them might be like, Miss Easter, that's whack. But some of them like, oh man, I needed this. It's all in what you think that, can help them motivate them. And like Simone just said, it does not matter their academic level. It's something that they've done that they deserve something. I think when you put kids like with low scores and you say, well, they never do anything, they're going to continue to get low scores. They're not going to believe in themselves. Just like with the young man with you, Matt, if you would never have really, talked to him, you would have never found out.
True.
So, I mean, can you imagine what he may do in life now that there is hope for him? At first, it's like, what? There's nothing for me. So I think a lot of times we give up too fast. I'm saying we, because I'm talking about our entire society. We give up too quick. It's something good in everybody. I believe it. It's something good in everybody. But that was the last slide. We're going to present that on Monday, right?
So for Monday, can everybody hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So for Monday, do we just want to basically do what we just did?
Yeah, just jump in and say what we had to say.
Okay.
We can definitely do that. I think everybody did a wonderful job. Matt, you definitely won't have to tell that story. I got chills. I was like, I love it. I love it when it's something, it works. It works. So,
yeah.
you guys, awesome. I think I stopped recording. No, I didn't. I'm going to stop